Next up, um, there's this initiative called Briefs that is organized by an Austrian-based art collective called Gold Plus, and they ask anyone who is willing to make short games to apply, and they will support you in making them. So please welcome to the stage. Now I have to cheat again. Alex Robbins, Laughingpineapple, and Bee Spiders, and Georg Hobmeier. So they will discuss briefly, or they will discuss their experience, the experience of making those games for Briefs.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for the rhino if it breaks the code of conduct. But yeah, it is about briefs, so hence the art. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I'm here speaking on behalf of Gold Extra, which is as already introduced, an art collective from Salzburg, Austria, that mainly works in games and interactive media. And today in this brief panel, we will talk about the Briefs initiative, which is micro-publishing. So what does that mean? Every year there is a call with a theme, and then the best artists, creators, etc., are being selected to create short games, short experiences. And they're given a short burst. We're talking about game jam sized, by the way, because a brief game could also be like 2 hours, and I worked 4 years on it, but it's really like, please work only a week on it, and we give you an appropriate sum for it. This is, we are already going now into the 4th year of the Brief initiative, and today we will be introducing the creators of the 3 previous years. Although there's one person who managed to sneak in twice, despite added difficulty markers. So we have from year 2, starting on the left. Please, the next slide. So next slide, please. Slides, thank you. Oh no, this is from the, sorry, I got it all mixed up with my slides. This is from the last year, from the Death theme, Death in Venice, by Eva Jutzi.
Death to Venice.
To Venice. So that was the film Death in Venice. Death to Venice, that's the game. Eva Jutzi, aka Laughingpineapple. Then we have, next slide please, from year 2, Pigs in Space, aka Xenograph, which is the actual name, I always mix it up, by Spiders. And then we have from the very first year, next slide please, the typing game Mondays. Sisyphusian, that's very hard to pronounce. Sisyphusian. Sisyphean, what a terrible word to pronounce, typing game. It's a nightmare, and the theme was absurd. Let's start with Pigs and Spiders.
Yes.
I already clarified it for myself. You were not inspired by the Muppet Show.
No, but I did look it up when you sent it afterwards. I did watch it, so yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about your game?
Yes, it's a card-based roguelike with a sci-fi theme. And the idea is it was inspired by tarot, so you have these 4 different elements, but then also like a more specialized card that you need to manage. It's about this mutated, semi-anthropomorphic crew of creatures, of pigs, that are traveling through space to some unknown destination. And yeah, you need to manage their resources, their bodily parts, and also fuse them with the ship and like swap parts out in the form of like stacking cards to achieve their goal. Yeah.
And Eva, why kill Venice? Why does it deserve death?
It's dying already. So it's a reflection on the current state of the city and of the lagoon. It's a piece of interactive fiction that that joins regular choice-based dialogue between a dying person and the spirit of the dying city and all the environment around it, which has made it through the centuries, the millennia. And then from there, it's a collection of 6 scenes of various types of death, which try to get a little creative with the possibilities of interactive fiction. So you have a death of biodiversity, a death of history, a death of society in various ways. Yeah, so an attempt to do things, to experiment with twine.
Sinister, but a truly fascinating game. Just a reminder, Briefs is playable. All existing games, well, they're not of the new call, obviously, in a double station just outside there. So if you want to play all of these games, they do exist. But now coming back to the absurd Monday's typing game, Alex, why did you come up with this absolutely sadistic idea? Is it because of your theater background?
It could be. I would say that the idea started from the word absurd, looking to absurdist theatre. I think one of our inspirations for that was Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, and how can you create a game where it feels like you aren't progressing, that you are in the same space, but at the same time having enough going on that the player feels compelled to move forward. And from there, looking into absurdist writing, it was Albert Camus writing about the myth of Sisyphus, looking at that Greek myth, using it as an allegory for the banality of life and how we must imagine ourselves happy in order to survive. Using that both for the art, as we've still got up on the slides there, but also as the focus of the game design. In Monday's A Sisyphean typing game, you play as Sisyphus, and the way that you roll the boulder is by typing out an endless number, not endless, there's a number of them, but emails. You type out these emails that appear at the top of the screen, and each letter brings you slightly closer to the peak. But when the email is finished, you roll right back down to the shop. And the shop is then again another thing that we were trying to bring in some of the absurdism that exists nowadays in games. How microtransactions might sometimes take over a game and become the sole focus. So all of the money that you make in doing your typing, you then spend on meaningless cosmetics for your boulder, or you can choose to spend it on the ability to write longer emails, which is up to you. But there is an end. There is a way to get to credits. It might look like it's endless and impossible, but I promise you there's something there.
I'm not sure if he's even lying to you or not, but there might just be more sadism. The emails are really boring, by the way, and difficult to type at the same time. So boring office emails to climb a hill. So this was the absurd, pigs, and death. And this year, and before we're going to dive a little bit more into some more reverse promotion, if we could have the next slide, please. This year's theme is cheese, which isn't a nice theme, you know. death is kind of, it's a cool theme, in games, but what the fuck are you going to do with cheese? Well, maybe you want to do something with cheese. If you want to have some cheese from Gold Extra, you can apply. But yeah, let's get on with the questions regarding your games. Spiders, how was your process creating this game?
Good question. I think like the initial spark was just that I really wanted to like make a card-based game. So I think I really started out mechanically this time, which is not something I usually do, like trying to figure out what the system of mechanics is, like how are the cards going to interact. And then I got to the point where it's like about stacking, and then there's like this timer where there are effects happening after a certain amount of time, and then you like it gets more frantically. So I think was mainly just like from that like seed trying to figure out like what kind of frame of playing is enabled by that very basic system.
If I heard that you went to Venice.
Yes, we live nearby, so it's we're a two-persons team. That's me and Andrea right there. So the process is us bouncing off ideas of each other, and we had this idea when my grandmother was like, "Okay, you guys live next to Venice. Why don't you use Venice in a game? That would be nice." Yes, that would be nice, Grandma. But then. When the theme was death, like this vague idea about a near future Venice where the ecosystem is completely changed, mutated in some ways, it coalesced immediately into something very specific. Like we were just had this vague image, and the death theme made it become something concrete, something that was saying something. And so we had the frame narrative immediately. And then for the specific scenes, that's one for each part of the city. It's divided in six sestieri. So we wanted something that would speak of that place in particular. So we just kind of went there and get inspired and research things. We even had the opportunity, thanks to the Venice Biennale, the Art Biennale, to go to the women's prison that is in Giudecca, and see that for ourselves. And one of the scenes is based in there. So yeah, it was a very open-air game development.
You went actually on to develop the concept further, or let's say you were also in touch regarding commercial application of the concept, weren't you? Can you tell us a little bit about it? At least you were like in touch with like
with Mondays after it was released.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to say quickly that it wasn't just me making it. It was also my brother, Max, who is currently doing his exams, his final year, so he couldn't make it out with us today. But as soon as we released through briefs, we were picked up by the front page of Itch, and Monday's got a lot of people viewing it, and a lot of emails started to come through asking for it to be on different websites. So we've the main website that we've worked with is Cool Maths Games, who are a really cool space to have games be hosted and for people to be able to access them that way. And it was really exciting for us because for me and my brother, it was our first game which was being released in this way, where it was getting a lot of eyes on it. We had only really done game jams before this, and then suddenly we had an article about the game written by PC Gamer, and Kotaku, and that sort of thing. So it really gave us a feeling of moving from that hobbyist game developer into, well, we can really start doing this professionally, and this is something we could really devote a lot more time to. So it was really special for us to be part of this, and it was a real catalyst for a lot of opportunities we've had after. Yeah.
So some people move on from this short format to develop it further. Mosalina, I think, from the first year is probably one of the most extreme cases, because it started as a very, very small game and then went on to become a long format. I don't know, has anyone heard of Mosalina? From this weird Austrian guy?
There's some nods, some hands.
My friend Josh. So he actually went on to make a Steam version, and it sold like 300,000 units. So for a very, very weird and absurd game. So there is some, I think this is curious, you know, that some people just create short formats and then move on to the next short format, but there are some people who kind of keep on insisting on the format and then kind of try to dig something more out of it, or try to kind of hammer it into something longer. Was any one of you kind of tempted to create like a masterpiece AAA game?
No. Longer than this, yes. That long, no.
I mean, I think the temptation is always there, right? But then it's like you start out on it, you have like these ideas, these like plans, and then you sort of like get lost in all the, you know, figuring stuff out, or like, I get this other idea that like springs from it, like a little branching thing. But I think also the Briefs game is like, I think one of my most polished, and that's like a phase that always, like, especially if you don't work in like a specific context where you have like a team of people working on it and supporting each other, but just like as a solo dev, that's like always the phase that's like really tough, right? And that's what you want for like long form games. You really want to have it like all fleshed out.
Yeah, I think, like Spiders was saying, we were pitching the games with a sort of view for them to be made in a certain amount of time and to be playable in a certain amount of time too. And so I don't think we ever thought that we would expand Mondays into a AAA thing. It would be maybe taking the learning from making it and developing something new, but because of the form of Briefs, the ideas lend themselves to being things which are made quickly and played quickly.
Yeah, we are working on a more polished version of Death Venice, specifically with more illustrations, more reactive music, and so on. But yeah, no, the game is that thing, and it's not going to get bigger. And even our other ideas are still within the short form, which I think is really cool and has a lot of potential for things that can't work as long games. Like you say that thing and just that thing. If you made it longer, you would just be padding it out.
So to take a few steps back and look at the bigger picture, we have a bit of a problem in the genre games, or the games industry to be precise, because the games industry hates short games. If you come to any publisher and say like, I make a short, and it's gone. So, and I was wondering if you have any opinion on that. Like, I know that none of you are like really like in the center of the industry, working with any big corporations. You are much more on the artistic sides of it. But what is your view on the fact that there is such a weird relationship between games and the notion of short games, which doesn't exist at all, for example, in literature?
I mean, there's short stories.
Exactly.
There's collections of short stories, and on the internet, I think. I mean, I don't know. I know much less about the literary industry than I know about the games industry. But the thing is, with the internet, we could start distributing our things directly, And then that opened up a lot more spaces for short form anything, actually. I think I can imagine maybe even short films, which would still have to be shown in festivals, but maybe now can also be streamed, and there's more of an audience for them. But yeah, short stories I think also have the issue where you have to bundle them up in a book. And if you're not already an established author, no one is interested in your collection of short stories. But yeah, on the internet, you can just publish that. Like if you have an audience in some other way, of people who are interested in your writing, you can just publish your short story, and that's that. And yeah, similarly for games, because before we could sell them on the internet, there were practical issues of having to get the game to the person, which took printing, distributing, and so on. And now we can do this, but yeah, maybe the culture hasn't evolved along with the technical possibilities.
I think it's pretty similar with theatre, where you have short plays being collected into short play nights, often by different writers all together, and so they are able to be sold to an audience by saying you're going to see a variety of things tonight, and maybe these are going to be used as starting points to build into bigger things, or maybe they've been written specifically to be short. But I think the advantage that games have is that the accessibility of them for anyone. It's not just happening in one space at one time. It's not just being, you don't need to go through a publisher, or if it was a book being put on store shelves, you can put a game on itch and then market it yourself, and people will find it, and maybe they might be more likely to play it if you're marketing it as a 5 to 10 minute experience, because, oh, I have 5 to 10 minutes right now. Of course, I'll either add this to my itch to playlist, or I'll play it right now. Sometimes I think people aren't looking for a longer game in games. Some games might even be ballooning in scope, where like I've definitely looked at some games which might say we've got 100+ hours of content, and that actually scares me instead of making me want to play more. So I personally do look for short things myself.
Yeah, and I think like you also already said, it's a lot about the frame of publishing. Like I think it shouldn't be thought of like monolithically, like you're competing with your 1 hour game or your half an hour game with like a game that's open world and 100 hours. It's just like, it's not a different medium, but it's almost like a completely different set of environment to think about where you're producing this. And I think there's ways, even for short games, like I think I saw Arctic X in the exhibition space, I believe. And I played that recently, and that's kind of shortish, but like figures out a way to make it work in its context, and I think it's like exactly the right length. And I think that's quite gained some traction, I think. I believe there's also the Sock Pop exhibition. They figured out, like, I think a really clever way to deal with producing short things, producing things as a collective in a way that's like sustainable. I mean, I guess we'd have to ask them. I haven't talked to them yet, but it seems also really resonant. Yeah, and I think there are ways to engage in different lengths of producing, but not in one way, but in different ways. And like maybe you have to even broaden outside of selling the game or having a Patreon and think more about like arts funding or theater-based things. Yeah.
I think I'm obliged to say that Briefs is sponsored by various Austrian art funding. So yeah, this is for the funding bodies. Thanks for giving us the money to make games. But yeah, this is interesting. Like art funding is an option. Yeah, my apologies to the people who don't come from any funding-heavy countries right now, but that's the reality of being like in Scandinavia or Central Europe. You know, you actually can't get funds for something like this. Then you have initiatives that do it nevertheless, also always on the fringes. But the question remains, like, why does the core industry kind of shy away from it, like the devil from holy water? Any opinions on that? Like, why is there why are they so mortally afraid of short formats?
I think it's changing. Like Spiders was just saying, like Arctic Eggs, mouthwashing, which is also being shown. There are more short games being released which are getting a viral or a big community behind them because of how easy they are to share, and whether that's through YouTube or TikTok, social media, other sort of things, which let people see a slice of the game, and then they're told, and it's only half an hour or only an hour to play, and that is a chunk of time which people are happy to commit to. They want to take part in that rather than just watch it. I think maybe if you went to YouTube when it was first started with the gaming content, people would watch full playthroughs of very long games, but it's sort of shifting into a world where people want to see almost a demo of that game and then be able to play it themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's still this old guard of like the length of the game, or like how many millions of quests you can do is like the selling point. But I think especially with this shift to like short form content, I think that's definitely changing. And I think the paradigm of thinking about like, I think it's also, I think like I read a lot also that like people just don't have the time for longer games now to sit down, at least at my age also to sit down like for 50, 80 hours to play through something. So actually I myself like look forward to more short form games that you can play in an hour and experience like that.
Yeah. Yeah, we have been playing Planescape Torment since February. So yeah, 80 hours takes months. So yeah, I think right now the 10 hours game has its presence. Like there's Annapurna games, Fellow Traveler games, which reach an audience, which reach a certain relevance in the discussion. Overall, even shorter, maybe that will shift further. I don't know. They may take, I mean, if that works, maybe we'll see the 5 hours game. Well, there already are, I think mouthwashing is like closer to, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see, like, I mean, video games are already more diversified than other art forms, because you have Tetris and you have Disco Elysium. But yeah, and now with this possibility for single persons to just make their game and put it out there, we can do anything, and we are seeing, like, starting from, I don't know, 2005, 2008, 2015, now the situation was so much different. It's been thrilling to see it evolve, and let's see what goes now. Like, we are just now starting to get somewhere with the form. There is still so much to explore in so many genres and so on.
So before we go into Q&A, I just want to do one last round of how terrible, hard, or whatever was the process. What was the difficulty in the process for you? Let's do a last round, going from right to left.
For us, it was a really lovely process. And that is because Georg is saying we want to say something. No. Because we'd only done game jams so far. And there's something with some game jams of a competitive spirit, or you might feel demoralized if it's one of your first ones and you're competing, whether competing or alongside lots of people who are submitting at the same criteria, and you feel like, oh, I'm this many years above beyond. But with briefs, because we were all part of a cohort who were working together to release this collection, it felt really supported because we were able to get feedback from our cohorts and to be able to see how they're doing and feel that creative, positive energy build as we get closer to release. And so we really enjoyed it. It really made us feel like we were part of a collective. Yeah.
Seconding the nice words for the briefs, support, and the little community of each year's creators, which is lovely. And yeah, for us, I think the worst part was the initial scoping, because I just write everything down before I start working on anything. So we had, okay, the project would naturally be structured like this. We need these many illustrations, these many segments. And then we looked at the time and we were like, okay, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. What goes out? And these are the parts that we are trying to reintroduce in the eventual complete version. But taking those out was hard. Like, we had a design for a protagonist, and that just went out the window. So that was weird at the beginning to readjust for that. But yeah, then it was like lock in and write, lock in and draw, in his case. And then it happened, and it was cool. We were very happy with it.
Yeah, definitely have to mirror what you were saying. I also want to say, I think Briefs was one of the first times of a fund I got or something like this, where you where the context, or you were really clear about, okay, this is how much money you're getting, and you should not take, if you can, longer than this. I think it was like 40 hours, like game jam length. And I think that's so important, because I don't think enough people do this, to be like very clear, like you have like 1 month, 1.5 months or something like that, or even like more. But to be like very, I guess enabling access of not like scope creeping, and not like being like, wow, I got this fund, I now need to like produce something that's like worth, that would be like, hey, chill, this is like, we're all here to support each other and to like, yeah, work through this. I think that was really nice. Yeah, and in terms of the game making challenges, I think it was just mainly programming nightmares. Because every time when I have like a clear deadline, it all gets very spaghetti code with me.
Spaghetti code is okay in this case. You don't have to revisit it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Before we go into Q&A, just a few practical reminders. If you want to apply, that's the QR code. You'll go straight to the form. The theme is cheese. The deadline, completely forgot to put it on there, is 24th of May. You don't need a lot to apply. You need a concept with 100 words, and then you need to do the game by the end of August. And if the Austrian government doesn't cut us down completely regarding art funding, we will have 1,500 euros per game. You can be alone. You can also be in a team. And yeah, that's it from us. And if you have any questions now, we are very, very happy to take them. Thank you. The man with the microphone.
Yes, that's me, that's me. Thank you very much for this in-depth talk. So, are there any questions from the audience? Okay, cool. Hold on, I have a mic for you, I think. No, the mic is lost, so I am going to use my mic. Oh. Yes, here you go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation, and good luck with everything in the future with short and long games. I have a very simple question to three of you. How long or short actually are your games? So exactly, and what engines or frameworks did you use to create them?
We used Unity. Like I said, it was one of our first games. This was back in 2022. We made this, and it takes it depends how good you are at typing, but it takes between half an hour and an hour to get to credits. All of the games are playable here in the village if you wanted to have a go with them.
Okay. We used Wine. The Parallelepipedon, which was my game for the first year, is 30 to 40 minutes long. Death Venice is a bit longer, but yeah, it's interactive fiction, so like.
I use Godot. I'm a big fan of Godot, I have to say. And like I said, it's a roguelike, so like the first run probably takes like 5 minutes, and if you want to complete it, it's maybe like half an hour, depending if you read the comments to get some hints.
Half an hour for me.
So, any more questions? Here we go.
Hi, thank you for the interesting discussion. I was wondering, because you teased it a little bit, what are your like professional or creative backgrounds? From which fields are you coming? Are you from the games industry itself or from theater maybe?
Sure, I'll talk about theatre. So I am mostly doing theatre in the UK, and that sort of started when I finished my A-levels, which is like secondary school. I started a theatre company with a group of people called the Narwhal Ensemble, and we ran for a couple of years making Arts Council funded plays, and then we separated off into our little groups and started doing our own smaller works. And since then, it's interesting how similar games and theatre can be, and I'm sure most of you may have heard that before, or different versions of it. But the level of interactivity, the liveness of it, the how you are placing an audience, who they are in that scenario, all of that is really interesting stuff. And so me and my brother started making games together in 2020, and we were really interested in where theatre and games can link together. And so I bring some of the game practice to my theatre work, and I bring some of the theatre work to my game practice. Yeah.
Which is super interesting. Like, it's great to see people from various artistic backgrounds take their views into games. Like, I think it's given us so many of the greatest. So yeah, I am a conference interpreter, but then a couple of years after my degree, I got a speech impediment, so that went well. So I'm a translator, editor, and localization tester. Yeah, that's it. And creatively, I'm an amateur writer. So I come from linear writing and now try to experiment with interactive writing.
I'm a self-taught game maker. Started off with RPG Maker. I have actually a degree in arts, visual communication. So I come more from an arts background, and I still do games, but I think not. I would say not yet in the industry. But I also do sound, live music, and performance art. Drag performances, stuff like that. So diverse.
Very cool. One more. Okay. Well, you.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. So I have a question. So what's one piece of practical advice to deal with scope creep, not including the deadline, that worked for you all?
The deadline.
Of course.
plan it out. I don't know, I outline everything, like 100 words, short story, I outline that. So even for bigger games, like get your outline and work with that and try to stay within it.
Yeah, that's a really good question, I think. And I have to say, even though I said all that regarding, thank you for like making like a clear frame of time, I definitely overshot like the 40-hour game jam thing. But I think like the deadline thing, it's like, be nice to yourself in the sense of when to say this is good. Like don't think too much of like still have to add this, still have to add that. I think like be very lenient with your cutoff points and like have the core thing, and then I think you can still embellish afterwards if you still have time or want to extend it.
Oh, but I think with short games in particular, you're saying one thing, like try to say that one thing. Another thing can be another project. Like stay focused. Like your project will be all the stronger for that, I think.
I think something that was really useful for me was having me and my brother be working on it together. Or like, if you don't have someone else directly working on it with you, if you're a solo dev, that just having someone who's going to keep you accountable. So whenever one of us was pitching to the other, like, let's add this, you have someone who's going to speak to you honestly and go, no. Or yes, we are going to do a different version of that. Or yes, we're going to do that in version 2. That's what we always say to each other. We're going to finish version 1 and release that. And that's going to have everything that is core to it, everything that we know needs to be there. And then maybe we never get to version 2, but we always tell ourselves, we'll put that in later.
One last advice from me, stay away from technical challenges. It's not the space for technical challenges. You can learn to program somewhere else. Use super simple things, we had Bitsy games. Keep it simple, it's not a requirement to make something complex and technologically, wonderful, Just stay with the theme and make something nice.
I thank you all for all your insights for this great panel talk. A round of applause.